Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of the FurtAudio Experience, the podcast that leaves you feeling more conscious, more engaged, and more fulfilled to magnify your impact on humanity. So before we dive in, if you're listening on a podcast streaming service, Apple, Spotify, make sure to leave it a review, follow it, subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're checking out my bedhead, make sure to subscribe, throw this a like, and maybe even give it a comment. I'm looking for some engagement. I'm looking for to hear what y'all are learning from this and how I can improve the FurtAudio experience and, maybe send it to a friend and enemy. But let's dive into today's topic, which is living, being alive versus being on autopilot. And first, I want to define what both is. So being alive, let's define autopilot first. It means you're walking, it's basically going through the motions. We've heard that saying before. Just going through the motions, whether it's at the job or with friends, family, partner, whatever. You're just going through the motions. You don't think about your actions, you just do them. They just kind of come naturally because you've kind of been routinized. I don't know if that's a word, but you're in such a routine that you don't even think about what you do, and that's the definition there. Now, being alive is like, obviously you're still going to think, you still have routines, you still do some things on autopilot, but in general, you're very conscious about what you're doing, you're very intentional about your actions and how impactful they are and what you're doing because of your priorities, and you feel you're being quite a bit more. Instead of being in your head, I think that's another thing is when you're on autopilot, you're kind of living in your own head about kind of life just because it's such a routine that it's just up here, you're just doing things. But when you're, being fully alive, you're more conscious of what you're doing in each moment. And again, it's not like a perfect world. Obviously there are going to be moments of unconsciousness. But the story that I used in the beginning, and I'll use two stories because it can go both ways. So, sometimes when I get home, late, I have to ask myself, right, before I go onto the couch and turn on SportsCenter and watch ESPN, right, if I was unconscious, if I did it every day, if I was being on autopilot, I would just come home, turn it on, sit on the couch in the same spot, and just do everything in the same way, just because that's my autopilot, that's what I think, versus coming home and being like, okay, what do I need right now? What do I want to do right now? There's nothing wrong with watching TV at all, because if you need to take a break, if you want to watch some sports, you want to watch your favorite show, whatever, just ask yourself first versus just flicking on the TV. It's literally super simple, and it's okay, yeah, right, but you're watching TV consciously, and this goes on the other side of the aisle too. It's sometimes I have, I get off of work of substitute teaching. I'm at a Starbucks in between coaching basketball in a few hours, right? And the kind of the grinder, the hustler in me will be like, all right, let's make sure we write, create content, engage on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it is, Instagram. And let's just grind, read, make sure you do all that before you go and coach. And so sometimes my autopilot will be focused towards working hard, but I'm okay, do I consciously I'll have to ask myself, do I need a break right now? All right, it's okay if I want to watch basketball. Number one, I'm a basketball coach, and it's a little more passive, give me an opportunity to relax, and also give me an opportunity to become a better coach. So maybe I don't need to spend 30 to 45 minutes on Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, because I actually should be spending it becoming a better basketball coach, which also helps me relax. So therefore, it's just all about asking yourself questions, not overthinking too much, right? You're not asking too many questions. It's just being engaged with your own self and your own life and what's going on, because you're going to become more fulfilled. Otherwise, a lot of people say the time just goes by so quick. It's because so many of us are living on autopilot and doing the same thing every day and not even thinking about it. Of course, time is going to go by fast because you're not there in the moment. You're just letting it go by, right? For me, especially the last couple of months where I've become a lot more conscious and engaged and honestly fulfilled with my life, it does feel like it's going slower. Yes, it's going fast. I'll be real. It's going fast. And I'm I'm like a yogi. It's going so slow, right? This week's gone by super fast. But I'm been a lot more intentional with my actions, and I feel like I'm actually having a lot more of an impact in where I'm going because I'm more conscious, because I'm alive. Like I feel like people can kind of sense that type of energy, and it's not even like woo woo, like people can kind of sense when you're there or you're not there. Because I do have times where I'm just like living in my own head. My girlfriend's probably the first person to tell you like, oh, he's in his own head, like because she's with me so much, she can tell the difference, right? And I don't really want to come here and talk about this in terms of like I have this all figured out. I've just been working on this a lot and practicing, and it's brought me a lot of fulfillment into my own life, and I want to share that with you all because I believe it can bring a lot of fulfillment to your own life. So I'm curious, this is about, FurtAudio experience, a lot of my work is about beginning within. Like I don't have the answers for you. I can share things that I learn and things that might be applicable and helpful into your life. But you gotta, number one, you have to ask yourself the questions: how would this apply to my life? How can I do this? Because I will never know. No matter how well I know you, you have to eventually like figure it out for yourself. You have to do the work yourself. Like have a team around you. Like that's what I'm here to support, here to impact, here to be in your ear, in your eyes if you're watching. But I can't turn on that switch of autopilot off, being alive on. That's on you. And it's okay if you're struggling with it, because you can reach out to me. That's what part of my coaching is, to help you wake up and love living in the process, because life is the process. I know for a while I've really struggled on that. Like I was so focused on outcomes, right? Like, oh, when I have like 500 Twitter followers, I'll be happy with my content creation. That's BS, because once I get to 500 followers, I'm going to be like, oh wow, I don't feel a drop different. No duh, because having 500 followers doesn't matter, right? There are some outcomes, winning a championship. But if winning the championship is your whole thing, you don't enjoy the process, you don't enjoy, the times that are in the present moment, you're not gonna, you're gonna win the championship. And honestly, a lot of athletes talk about how some of the most depressing times is after they win a championship, because that chase is over, that idea in their mind is over, they accomplish it. It's like, okay, what do I do now? Who am I, right? You are your actions in your everyday, and if you can be alive every day instead of being on autopilot, it's going to be a major game changer for you. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Direct message me, email me. I'll leave my contact information below. I'd love to just have conversations with y'all. And I really appreciate, you taking the time to listen or watch this video, because there's so much other content out there that you could be watching. So honestly, genuine appreciation. Send love your way, and I hope to, see and connect with you all soon. FurtAudio out.